everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So my name is Liddy, and today we're going to be doing a fun new kind of video where I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite recent reads. So it'll be like a top 5 recent reads. I didn't want to do like a whole reading vlog because that one takes quite a long time, and I actually ended up reading about 47 volumes of manga in January, so I wanted to kind of just talk about my top 5 of those, and I'm going to talk to you about what I read in January mostly, but it's going to be mostly just like a recent reads video, and that's kind of how I'm going to do it going forwards. I don't know if I'll do one every month, but this is kind of what I'm going to be doing. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, let's get into what my top 5 reads of so far has been, and I have a lot of things to show you today. So okay, so I want to first mention a honorable mention, so one that didn't really make it to my top 5 reads so far, but I wanted to include it anyway because I felt like I had a little bit of a differing opinion to it since I first read it. So it is Yakuza Fiancé. So initially when I read Yakuza Fiancé, I had really mixed feelings about it. I didn't enjoy the first volume that much. It didn't leave like a significant impression on me, and especially because a lot of people loved it and said it was like really good, one of their favorites, and for me personally it wasn't really anything amazing. So I was a little bit hesitant about it, but I was like, I have the first 2 volumes, let me just try it again and see if I enjoy it. So I reread it, and I actually surprisingly enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time I read it, which was really good, obviously very positive. Since reading 2 volumes, I've actually ordered the rest of the volumes that are out up to volume 6. It should be coming soon, but super happy that I did give it another chance. And in my opinion, this guy Kirishima is still a piece of shit. I don't like him. I think he's a creep. No thank you. But I do really love the main girl, Yoshino. She is like a bad boss. She's a bad bitch. Love her so much. So she kind of carries the story for me. But then in the volume 2, there was another character that entered the scene, and his name is Shoma, and I think I accidentally called him something else before, but his name is Shoma, and I like him. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna show you quickly what he looks like. This can be maybe a little bit spoiler for the second volume, so if you haven't read it, look away now. But this is the character Shoma. He's like super handsome, super good looking, and just his personality, great so far. But this one is basically about a girl, and Yoshino, her grandpa is part of this Yakuza, and he's like part of the Yakuza clan, and then the grandpa sets up his granddaughter with another Yakuza family. And that Yakuza family has a grandson called Kirishima. And then they're trying to set them up so that they can kind of like have good relations between both those Yakuza clans. And she's at first like, what the fuck, I don't want to do this. But then she ends up agreeing and then moving to Tokyo to live with this guy and his household to see if they are a good match, and they will eventually get married. And then she enters this household, and he seems like a really stand-up guy, really straight-laced, very polite, very gentlemanly. But then it's basically an act. He's kind of crazy, he's creepy. Later on she finds out his true colors because he gets like annoyed with her about being really like prim and proper, and then he's like, I've had enough of this, I can't pretend anymore. And he basically tells her to like, oh, if you want to be useful, go and like sell your body and try to make some money. Like there's places that I can refer you to like sell your body basically. She's like shocked obviously because he had this persona of being really gentlemanly. And so what she does in the end is she actually ends up So this is kind of spoiler for the main story, so spoilers, but she ends up selling her kidney and then making money off that sold kidney in the black market. And then she approaches Kirishima at school and drops off like a wad of cash in a bag and is like, hey, you told me to sell my body, so I sold my kidney, and don't think I'm just gonna walk out here and leave, because, you know, I'm not that type of girl. And then he sees that and he's like, starts becoming infatuated with her and is absolutely enamored by her and is like, oh my god, I love you so much, I want you to ruin me. So he's basically a masochist. I think that's the word. Masochist is the one where you like being pain inflicted on you, right? Basically, he's like that. And yeah, he starts being obsessed with her. And I still hate him. Like, he's a fucking creep, in my opinion. I don't like him. And the thing that I don't really the reason why this one isn't in my top 5 reads, and it's just kind of like an honorable mention, is because, spoiler for the story, but he kind of is obsessed with Yoshino, right? But then he still sleeps around and he has like a friends with benefits type of relationship with another girl, and I'm like, I don't like that. Yes, they're not technically official or together, but it's still for me a form of like slightly cheating. So I don't like that about the character. I feel like if that was left out, it would have been a lot better. So that's the only reason why I can't give this a top 5 in my reads right now. But I do really enjoy the story and I'm excited to continue it again and see how it develops. And I want to see Shoma-kun more, and he's great as a character, so I'm excited to see that. And then the next read that I really enjoyed was A Sign of Affection. So I recently caught up to date with all the volumes that I had, which was up to 7. I only read maybe like 1 and 2 and 3, and then I kind of stopped. And then so I was like, okay, I want to continue because the anime was coming out and I thought the anime was really beautiful. So I decided to continue in manga format the volumes that I had, and it's really good. I think this story focuses on like the relationship a lot in terms of, rather than anything else, like the main story is a romance and it focuses on Yuki and Itsuomi's relationship. I think if you know A Sign of Affection, it's about Yuki, a girl who is deaf. She doesn't use sign language a lot to communicate with people because a lot of people don't know sign language, so she mostly uses like text message and also like pen and paper and writes down stuff. But she meets Itsuomi on the train because he helps her with a like communication issue with someone, like a foreigner who wanted directions, and then he helps her out, and then she kind of becomes infatuated with him, and then they later meet because she has a best friend, I think it's Rin, who knows his friend, and then they kind of start meeting and like hanging out together. And then in, I think it's volume 2 where they officially get together, and then it kind of focuses on their, you know, relationship, and it really touches upon how these college students are getting closer intimately, and it's done very nicely. Itsuomi is very considerate of her feelings, as well as taking things really slow, because it seems like obviously it's her first real relationship, so she's never had that kind of intimate relationship with anyone before. So he is very respectful of her feelings and is always looking out for, you know, signs to see if she feels uncomfortable in terms of her expression, and I think that's really, really important in a healthy relationship. So I really am enjoying the way their relationship is developing, and obviously there's a childhood friend in the mix and we all hate him. Well, most of us hate him. I personally don't like him because I think he kind of treats Yuki like a child, and she is not able to do things on her own, or she has like no agency, and I feel like that's wrong because she is still an adult lady and she has her own agency, and also she has, you know, her own feelings, and she's able to express those feelings by, you know, liking this guy. And I think he treats her like she isn't able to do that, and also that someone like Itsuomi is not actually in love with her, and the idea that because she's deaf, Itsuomi can't possibly actually like her for any other qualities except to, like, you know, play around with her. And I think that's wrong. I don't like that. So yeah, I don't like the childhood friend. I know there is like a huge fan base for the childhood friend, but personally not my type of character for a boyfriend. So yeah, that is A Sign of Affection. Really, really like this one and excited to continue it when the new volumes come out. And then the next volume of manga that I did really enjoy was Akane-banashi. This one actually has 4 volumes out already, so I need to catch up, but I really, really liked the first volume of this series, and it's basically about a girl who has Akane, who has a dad who is a rakugo performer. So rakugo is a type of old Japanese performative art. Her dad is trying out for this exam so that he can move in the ranks of the rakugo world, and then something happens where the test makes him get expelled from the school, and then he ends up quitting rakugo and just getting a normal job so that he can actually pay for the bills and also for, you know, their life, because he has a wife and a kid. Obviously it's really a shame because he was a really good performer, but obviously something happened in between where he felt like he was unfairly, you know, dealt with in terms of the exam. And so Akane, who really looked up to her dad and really loved his performance, ends up trying to learn rakugo herself so that she can move up into the ranks and pass the test, and then also seek out the person who ended up expelling her dad, and kind of has that shonen sports type, you know, feeling to it, because obviously it's a performative art, but it does feel like she needs to like get through these trials and also get through, you know, all these obstacles along the way so that she can become the best rakugo performer. And then she also is competing with other people to become, you know, the best. So it kind of has that sports shonen type feeling to it. I am excited to continue this and see where she gets up to, and if she does really well in the school, and how she improves her rakugo and things like that. And I really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to continue this and definitely recommend it if you're looking for a kind of different take on the shonen, I guess, sports series. Yeah, really like it. And then the next series we have is Solo Leveling. So I ended up reading 1 to 5 of Solo Leveling in January, and it was so good. So this is a box set that I actually got for my husband, so this is not mine, but I ended up reading it because I started the anime, the anime that was coming out for Solo Leveling, and in terms of like the pacing of the story, it's really good, but it also cuts in a way that makes you want to read it, because it cuts off at like a cliffhanger, and then you're like, oh my god, what's happening? I want to know what happens. So then, because you don't want to wait for the anime episodes to come out, I ended up wanting to read it. And then so my husband has the volume, so he was like, yeah, you should just read it. And I was like, you know what, I will. And then I started reading it, and it was so good. I heard the hype for Solo Leveling, and I knew there was a lot of hype. I knew it was probably going to be right up my alley and it was going to be good, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. And it's basically about Jinwoo, Songjinwoo. In Korea, we say their surname in the front, so it's Songjinwoo. But anyways, in this world, there is different types of portals that have started appearing on the earth, and in those portals are like monsters, and there are people in the human world who have become hunters so that they can eliminate these threats to the human race, and they enter the portals kind of like when you go in, if you've played any kind of MMORPGs, if you go into like a dungeon and then you do like you defeat the creatures in the dungeon, then the dungeon obviously closes. So they kind of have to do that in this world, which I think is really cool. And Songjinwoo actually did the hunter test because his mother is really ill, and he needs money to pay for her hospital bills, so he decides to sign up to become a hunter. And then he does the hunter test, and he ends up being E rank hunter, which is one of like the weakest ranks that you can get for being a hunter. So the highest is S rank, and then the lowest is like E rank. So he's like a really crap hunter. Like, he's weak, and he is also known as like the weakest hunter of all mankind. He's just rubbish at it. He basically goes into one of the weakest dungeons and he comes out nearly dying, which is really crazy. He is really bad at his job, but he continues anyway, risks his life so that he can pay for his mother's hospital bills and his sister's like tuition fees. And one day he gets put into a quest to enter this dungeon, and obviously he's like really weak, but he has a help of like his healer friend, and they're fine and stuff. And then after they defeat the main dungeon, they find out that there's a path to go further into the dungeon, and these people have never seen anything like that, and they're like, oh, there must be like something really good there and like loads of treasures, so shall we go and seek it out? They do that. But the thing is, when they get there, they realize that there is like this kind of altar type of thing, and then there's this like really scary looking statue that they see, like this really scary statue that they see. And it actually has like their eyes start moving, and then they realize that they're in a lot more danger than they thought. And it is like completely overpowered. This statue is like laser beaming and one-shotting everyone, and pretty much like at least half of the group of people who went into the dungeon end up dead. And then at the end, Song Jin-woo is basically very good at figuring out what's happening. He thinks really critically in that situation, and he's able to help a lot of people stay alive. But then at the end, when there is this final trial, a lot of the people don't listen to Jin-woo and then end up running out of the dungeon because the doors open, but it's kind of like a test to see who will remain, and everyone is too scared to listen to Song Jin-woo because they want to escape. So they end up escaping and then leaving him behind basically. And when they leave him behind, he's basically gonna die. So he's gonna die. Sorry, my cat's here. Suki! In your pup. So yeah, he ends up dying, but then because there's like the trial and like this last flame ends up burning out, he ends up getting a message saying, do you want to become a player? And then they said, if you choose not to, your heart is gonna stop. So obviously, like in this dreamlike state, he just says yes, he wants to live and become a player. And that's where his journey kind of starts, and he becomes part of this kind of game system where he can actually level up. So once someone is determined as a certain rank of a hunter, they can't change their rank. It never goes up or it never goes down, and you can't really change your rank. Even if you do a lot of training and stuff like that, your rank never will change. But in this part of the game that he's in, he's actually able to level up. And then so he ends up, obviously this story is about how he's like an E rank hunter and then ends up being able to level up to a higher ranked hunter, and it's kind of his journey through that. And it's really good. I like the game elements to it. If you are a gamer, you will really appreciate all like the game mechanics and things like that. And also, whilst he's leveling up, he also ends up becoming a lot more handsome, which is very cool. So I'll show you kind of what he looks like earlier. But he kind of looks like a loser. So he kind of looks like that at the start. And then he ends up looking like this. So you can see like he becomes hot. But yeah, it is really good. I really recommend this series if you're into like action, a lot of really good fight scenes. It's also very, if you're a gamer, you'll obviously really like it as well, like the mechanics of leveling up and becoming stronger. So it's really relatable to me because I really I've played a lot of MMORPGs before, and it's kind of like leveling up your character, kind of feels like that. And yeah, it's really, really good, and I like the way he kind of transforms, becomes stronger, gets a bit more confident, and then like volume 5 is ending on a place where he's like really strong now, and he's gonna continue getting strong. But then there's obviously all these political elements that start to come to light, because you know, it's not just easy breezy, I'm a powerful hunter, I'm famous now, that's it kind of thing. There's a lot more political things that happen between humans, because you know how, you know, these humans are fighting to save humanity from these like creatures, but obviously there's conflicts between humans because humans are, you know, crap. So there's a lot of that things that are coming to light. So I'm really excited to see what happens and see how he continues to level up. And then another series that I read recently that I really, really enjoyed was Runaway with Me Girl. Really loved this series. It was a little bit different to some of the stuff that I usually read. It kind of has a little bit more angst in terms of the themes, as well as a little bit of heartbreak, and it's a little bit more serious in tone. And it's basically about two girls called Maki and Midori. They were girlfriends in high school, and once they graduate, Midori ends up telling Maki that, you know, they are not children anymore, let's grow up, and we're not going to be together anymore, obviously, because now we have to go into the real world. And Maki is in love with Midori, and it's Maki's first love, and obviously that has a really heartbreaking effect on her. And then so she has still lingering feelings for Midori. She obviously not able to get over that, and she can't have normal relationships with anyone as well as with men, because she realizes she only has feelings for women, and she obviously still has those lingering feelings as well. And then one day she ends up going to Maki's workplace to get some like contact lenses or something, and then they meet again. And then Midori is like super happy to meet Maki, and it's like, oh my god, it's been ages, let's start hanging out. So then they start hanging out again as friends, and then Maki realizes that she still loves Midori, and Midori is always kind of also has maybe like a yearning feeling for that time in their past, because she always brings it up. And there is a twist in the story where later on Maki thinks that they can start their relationship again, but then finds out that Midori actually she is engaged to a man. So this, in terms of spoiler wise, it does have a cheating plot line to it, but it's more like desperation. So like I know it's like there is no excuse for cheating in this in anything, but it kind of explores that as well. And it's just kind of heartbreaking in terms of the things that Midori actually goes through with her husband to be. He's very self-centered, he's very narcissistic, he has a lot of it's like trauma, but like it's like something that triggers him, because he used to get bullied, and he was like a unpopular character when he was younger, and he blames women for that. So he's very misogynistic, he's a narcissist. And now that he has, you know, he's grown up, he kind of had a glow up, he's good looking now, he's a little bit more popular, he has that narcissistic element and tries to like use that to get back at women in his past. So he's a little bit misogynistic. Well, he is misogynistic, and this is spoiler, but something happens where he gets triggered and then ends up punching Midori, and Midori is like bleeding from her nose and like is gushing down. And obviously after that she is traumatized. She's like, this is not, you know, how I wanted it to be. She only wanted to be with a man because she fears to be alone in this world. She has these issues where she doesn't want to be alone, and she always wants to be with someone. So that's why she kind of went with anyone, and that's why she ended up with this man. But then also she is actually pregnant with his child, so they end up agreeing to marry. That's kind of how it happened. And for the sake of her future child, she obviously wants to stay with that guy. But after that event happens, she seeks Maki more often, and they end up having like a girls trip and pretty much running away together. And it's very heartbreaking in my opinion. The emotions are they're very powerful. The way the emotions are shown in the story, as you can see, the art style is very unique and I really like it. And I feel for, you know, Midori in this situation where she feels so helpless and alone, but then she doesn't want to be alone and she's scared of being alone. That's why she's kind of committed to this, you know, situation, but then she doesn't realize that there are people like Maki who are always going to be there for her and support her all the way. And it's kind of two women discovering that they are basically made for each other and nothing can really get in their way, and nothing should really get in their way if they want to be together. And yeah, it's really, really good. It's only a 3-volume series, so I would say definitely pick it up. Not too much commitment in my opinion for a lovely girls love series. Yes, it does have that cheating element to it, but it's one of those series where you wouldn't you wouldn't want it to happen in real life, because obviously, you know, cheating is not good, and I think people will be put off by it. But I think that I just was rooting for them the whole time, so I kind of looked past it, which obviously, you know, a lot of people won't be able to, so I totally understand if it's not your thing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really heartfelt and just lovely. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're looking for something a little bit more different, a little bit more serious in terms of girls love. And if you're also looking for a little bit more of a serious romance story, then yeah, definitely check this one out. And then obviously I saved the best for last, and that is this series. Is my, oh my god, she loves to cook, she loves to eat. I literally am squealing right now. My favorite series so far of 2024, as well as something that I feel is my favorite thing I've read in a very, very long time. It's been a long time since something like a medium has made me feel so much like love for the story, so much love for the characters. Like, I love Nomoto and Kasuga so much. They are perfect. They can do no wrong. I'm literally both of their biggest fangirls. Like, I really hope that this gets popular and we'll see some merch for it, because I will buy it in a heartbeat, because there's like hardly any merch for this series, obviously, because it's not that popular and it should be popular. I know the J-drama is getting popular, and they just put out the 2nd season, so I'm hoping that does really well so that we can see some really, really good merch for it. I've been raving about this to many people on the Manga Dudettes Discord. If you're not part of that Discord, it's a Discord run by 3 amazing UK manga tubers, Kiki Dreams, Himeka, and Caketins Does Manga here on YouTube. Check out their links below, I'll link them down. But they have a wonderful Dudettes manga Discord where loads of people talk about amazing things about manga, about anything. There's like a pets channel, there's like a NSFW channel, if you're into that type of thing. But yeah, they are wonderful, and they've created a wonderful community of manga lovers, and I am pretty much on there raving about this all the time and telling people to buy it, telling people to read it. I'm literally like an advocate for She Loves to Cook, She Loves to Eat now. And I read this in January, and it's my favorite read of 2024. It's probably one of my top 10 reads of all time, which is amazing. Like, that doesn't happen often, and I just love it so much. But basically, it's about Nomoto, who loves cooking. She does it as a hobby for herself. She posts about it on her Twitter or Instagram, something equivalent to that. But she has a dream of being able to cook like mountains of food and like big portions of food, because she just loves cooking. But obviously, because she has a appetite of a little bird, she doesn't cook those big meals because no one's going to eat them, and she doesn't want it to go to waste. But she has that dream, and then one day she runs into her neighbor, who is literally one door away from her apartment. And they're in the elevator, and then Kasuga-san, is holding like loads of KFC, like 2 handfuls of KFC, and Nomoto is like, oh, are you having a party? And then Katsuga-san is like, nope, this is just all for me. And then so Nomoto is like, oh my goodness, there's someone who actually has a huge appetite and she's living like right next door to me. Should I ask her to maybe try out some of my food so that, you know, we can eat together? And then she gets up the courage to ask Kasuga to eat with her, because she ended up making loads of food because something basically annoyed her at work. And Kasuga-san is like, oh yeah, sure, why not? And then she ends up eating the whole big bowl of this like pork curry that Nomoto made, and then they start a lovely friendship together where they think of new ideas for things to cook, and they eat together, and it's just so wonderful. And their conversations are so nice as well. They talk a lot about like societal issues, about family issues, because Kasuga-san has like this family issue that you'll see when you read it. And then Nomoto is always getting pressured by her parents to find a husband or find a boyfriend and date and stuff like that, but she's never really wanted to date anyone, and she's never really had a fancy for men. And then it's also about them discovering their sexuality as well, and how they might not be suited for normal, you know, hetero relationships. It's so good. Oh my god, it makes me cry. Like, I've never loved something so much with all my... Well, okay, I have, but, you know, this... Oh my god. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just love them so much. They talk a lot about being a woman as well in this society. Talk about the like different topics, such as how, you know, women are forced into a caretaker role, such as like a wife or a mother, and how they don't fit into that mold, and a lot of people are pressuring them to do that, but they don't want to. And also about like different appetites, where Nomoto is like, she loves food but she only has a small appetite, and she used to always feel bad about it, but now she's kind of accepted it. And also Kasuga, who kind of gets put into a mold of how she eats way too much, and people kind of think that she shouldn't eat that much because she's a girl, but she doesn't care, and she just like eats whatever she wants, and is really proud of the fact that she knows she can eat and work and like do all these things that she's always wanted to do, because back in her house she wasn't able to do that. And I think it's really, really healthy. Like, they don't ever shame people for being a certain way in terms of their appetites or their, you know, attitude towards food. And it also talks a lot about like asexuality as well, and also like how Nomoto feels like she's starting to develop feelings for Kasuga, but then she's like, every time I watch these like mediums of things about lesbians, I feel like I don't fit into that mold. And then they're talking about how you don't actually, just because there's a label like lesbian or like gay, you don't need to fit into a specific mold to be a lesbian. There is like different, you know, ways to do that, and like how your experiences and relationships will be completely different to, you know, different lesbians. So it's like, you don't have to be like the typical, you know, stereotypical lesbian. Like, your experiences are always going to be a little bit different too. So it focuses on a lot of those things, and that just, I love it so much, because I feel like obviously, even though there was these, you know, labels such as within the LGBTQ plus labels, people still feel like they end up having to be fitting into a certain mold to be like a bisexual or a lesbian or asexual. So I feel like there's really good conversations in here where, you know, you don't have to fit into the stereotypical mold of, you know, these labels. And I love that, and I love the kind of, you know, nuances that are put into the story about being a female in a male-dominated society. And it's just really, really good, very relatable to me as a woman. So definitely check this out if you are, you know, if you love sweet slice of life stories, as well with like a sprinkle of romance, food, and also talking about like societal issues, you know, touching on them. And if you're a woman as well, you will be able to relate to some of the things that happen in here. I think some of the topics that they talk about is really important, and I love that. And I read volume 1 to 3. I actually read 1 and 2, and then I reread volume 1 because I was holding off reading volume 3 because volume 4 doesn't come out until like May, and I was like having like a crisis because I wanted to read volume 3 but I didn't want to finish it because then I'll be waiting for volume 4. But then I ended up rereading volume 1 within like 2 days. So I read volume 1. This is not volume 1, but I read volume 1 and then reread it 2 days later. That's how much I loved it. And then I decided to read volume 3 because after reading volume 1 I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna read volume 3. Oh my god, so good. This made me cry. And we're introduced to 2 new characters in this one, and I love those characters as well, and it's just amazing. Please read it. Please read it. And if you do read it, please talk to me about it and gush about it with me as well. My Instagram links are down below. But yes, love it so much. Definitely read it. My favorite series, top 10 series of all time for sure, and I can't wait for the 4th volume to come out so I can enjoy these characters again. And I'll definitely be rereading it probably before the 4th volume comes out. I mean, I loved volume 3 so much. Like, look at them. They are so cute. I love them. But yeah, definitely check this out. Please, if you take any recommendations from me, just look at the way Nomoto stares at Kasuga. Like, don't you want that type of... This is what love looks like. Imagine someone looking at you like that while you eat. Love it so much. But yes. So yeah, I think I rambled for like a while for that series. So yeah, this was my top 5 recent reads. Obviously, Yakuza Fiancé was an honorable mention, but yeah, I really wanted to include this because I did have like a bit of a change of heart from when I initially read it, so I felt like that was worth mentioning. But yeah, I really enjoyed all these series, and I hope you will check some of these out. Definitely check out this one, please. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be making these every once in a while depending on if I have some good ones to share with you. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. Definitely like, comment and subscribe. As always, I love hearing your thoughts in the comment section about what you're reading as well as what you're planning to pick up. And let me know if you've read any of these and you enjoyed them, or if you didn't enjoy them as well, let me know, because I'm always open to hearing differing opinions. I feel like a lot of times people are afraid of saying that they didn't like a series that someone liked, but I actually am very open to hearing about other people's opinions on some of the series I liked. So I will not hear anything bad about She Loves to Cook, She Loves to Eat though. That's a joke. But yes, definitely let me know what you thought of any of these series, or if you're planning to pick up anything. And so yeah, thank you so much for watching, and definitely subscribe for more manga content. I got lots of videos planned, and hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon. Bye!